Hello and welcome to Making a Main number 2. Uh, Today it's the same matchup as the other day. It is a Cassiopeia mid. Um, just like yesterday, it's not too bad of a matchup. I'm trying something new. I'm running Grasp of the Undying instead of going purely down the offensive tree. I think it's called Fury. Oh, rip. Uh, that's awkward. No one saw that, right? Wow. Now we're just gonna have to play a little safer than normal. But it's fine. It doesn't bother me too much. Especially not in this matchup in particular. But, it's always nicer to have it than not. Because if she gets Cassiopeia, if she gets snowballing, it's kind of difficult to deal with, I guess. It's a bit. She's just got so much self peel with her ultimate and her slow. And then if she gets revitalized, she becomes a monster at being able to peel for herself. But on the flip side, if she doesn't get too far ahead, it's not the most difficult thing. Because once you get on her, it's pretty easy to stay on her. Yeah, I'm not worried about taking small poison damage early. I have a pretty decent amount of sustain in this lane. Over her. Once she gets the Twin Fang heal, though, she becomes a lot harder to deal with. Because then she can sustain off of minions and monsters and stuff like that. It's a nice lifesteal for APs, I guess. She's actually doing the right thing. Because in this lane, as long as she pressures me harder than I pressure her, she can come out on top pretty easily. But it's all about waiting for the right trains and going in at the right time. Ability cooldowns are really big for her. Her Q and her poison, because a lot of what she does revolves around it. So if you can dodge both her poisons, it's generally a good time to go in. A fun fact, I'm pretty sure you can block her miasma with your wind wall because it's a project. I think it's coded as a projectile when she throws it out. The fun AoE slow of it. So we've popped both of her pots, which is really good for this lane. It can sustain up quite a bit more than she can, but this is a new Grasp of the Undying build. I think it's better to take into melees than it is to ranged, because I can't heal off of minions, I can only heal off of champions. unlike Warlord's Bloodlust, where I can heal off of pretty much anything. But I do run lifesteal in my runes and masteries, and I normally go Doran's Blade first. I just feel like instead of running raw AD, it gives you just that little bit of, more lane sustain. You can run full AD in your runes if you want to. I just, I prefer not to. I like the sustain that I get. It makes it easier to be picked into, I guess, more poke-heavy champions than Yasuo normally is. You normally want to avoid lanes with a lot of poke as Yasuo. He just doesn't deal with it well. I guess it's really hard to explain his matchups because every matchup is good, I guess, and every matchup is absolutely horrific. It all depends on how good you are at playing him. If you're good at him, you can play him into almost anybody. And if you're not, then it's hard to play him into most other matchups. So his laning phase is the best and the weakest at the same time, which is kind of weird to say, I guess. I honestly don't know what more to talk about this lane. I mean, we got a Shin. He's doing pretty well, top lane. Our bot lane seems like they're doing pretty well. They're not chunked out. Vayne's going to be kind of annoying to deal with. It's going to scale into late game pretty well, but as long as we play around my wind wall, we should be fine. She really shouldn't have tried to turn on me there. I just ulted her to get some extra damage and more or less just kind of keep the lane in my favor. If she didn't turn and she had ran away, I wouldn't have gotten a kill there. I didn't ignite initially because I didn't think she was going to stay. So it's just about trying to take small trades. Yasuo's cooldown's 80 seconds. I'm going to get back to lane and it's pretty much going to be up already. And I didn't do anything to push it in or whatever. So honestly, taking your ultimate just to get some good damage and get a really nice trade-off is fine for him. So it's really nice to set up ganks with. So, oh shit, I didn't see him coming in. That could have been a lot cleaner. I did try to avoid using my knock-up on all off while he was ulted because it obviously wouldn't have done anything. It's just... you just gotta know your limits when you want to man a champion. Get out of there. She used Ignite, so I don't want to stay there too long. I didn't have my wind wall up or anything. I thought she was going to try to trade, so I threw up my wind wall a little bit preemptively, trying to avoid the damage. I saw that I was poised, and 3 or 4 of her twin fangs would have killed me there, so I'm just trying to take small trades in the beginning and then all in later. Like, she doesn't have her ulti, so I'm not in any big danger of being killed at the moment. I'm gonna go take chickens, more or less to make my CS numbers look better, but I want her to push up because I won't be able to kill her under tower, and she might think I'm backing, and her mana is super low, so she won't be able to even think about trading with me. So when you're playing Yasuo, you want to keep in mind about stuff that'll keep them from trading with you, because you have your shield, so small trades are good, and you have a lot of, I'm not going to say burst damage, but you have a decent amount when you max E like I do. Some people max Q. I mean, it's decent. It's got a decent base damage increase. But there's really no point in upgrading it until your second item. Mainly just because it's not as good as E, in my opinion. E lets me chase down people. It lets me do a decent amount of burst, as you could see on her. I did like 250 damage with 1 max stacked E. So it just kind of helps out. It's also really good at last hitting. Oh god. Oh, she lived. Really all Cassiopeia needs to do in this matchup is poke me down early, and she can win. She just needs to hit her poison more often. And then really push it when she hits it. Because as soon as she hits her poison, she has a lot more potential as long as I'm not on top of her. Because her E has a pretty high base. It just has the ability to do a lot of damage. I don't really roam as Yasuo as much, unless one of the lanes has a dedicated knockup. Like, I can roam for maybe bot lane with Tristana ult. If Shyvana ults, I can ult off of her knockup. Because Displacement spells also count as knockups, which is a really weird mechanic. But you can ult off things that you wouldn't think that you'd be able to. Vein Condemn is a great one. If you go and gank for a Vein, a level 6, normally it's a kill. If they can get their Condemn off. Ganking for bot lane as Yasuo is normally pretty easy, because supports most of the time have a lot of CC. So it can be a Yasuo knock up into a Thresh Hook, or a Thresh Hook into a Yasuo ulti, and then it just kind of snowballs itself. Yasuo is a really good snowballing champion. Once he gets ahead, it's hard to stop him. You just gotta not kill yourself, pretty much. If you get fed as Yasuo and you die, it's more than likely your fault that you died. And honestly, that's the best advice I can ever give you playing League of Legends. If you die, it's probably your fault. I mean, there's times when it could be someone else that could have done something differently, but then you could have probably done something differently yourself. And it just keeps you thinking about you. You don't want to think about other people when you play, because you're playing to get better yourself, not really to better other people. So that's the one thing that I did, because I only started playing, I think last season. Because I played a lot last season. Alright. This is the parts in League of Legends you really like to see. So, when doing that, I got ulted by Cass, which was terrible. She shouldn't have been able to get her ulti off. I wasn't paying that much attention to her. So the first thing I did was I walked up, got ulted by Cass. As soon as Cass ulted me, I shot my wind wall towards Yasuo, because even though Cass is getting constant damage, I don't want the execution damage from Yasuo's Q to hit me. So I ignited EQ'd Yasuo for however much HP that did. And then that stopped him from healing. And after that, I turned my attention to the Cass. I wasn't going to go in unless I hit my knockup, because going in if I didn't hit my knockup was surely death. Like there's no point in going in to a fight that you've taken a lot of damage if you don't have your knock up, if you don't hit it. In my opinion, some people can take fights that are not really that bad. You just gotta think about where you're going, why you're going, and how you're doing what you're doing. I think ahead more, because as Yasuo, you're pretty squishy, right? Like, you may have really good mobility, but that mobility is still you being super fucking squishy. Um, that was just a really nice ward from Bard. Got me that kill. It's pretty simple. It, ulti into just my damage, my auto attacks, stringing Qs together. If you noticed, when I hit my knockup, I waited a second, let it fall down, let him fall down a little bit, then ulted, and then for my, well, that's game. Then for what I did next is as soon as Bard stunned him, I didn't use my Q until the stun was right about to wear off. That way he was still in the air when it wore off, so we'd have more CC stacking. But that's all for this episode of making a main. I'll see you guys next time.